Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. This is Erik. Before we get started, I just wanted to say that this episode was recorded a long time ago. It was recorded back in 2020 when COVID was still at its height. So a lot of the things that we mention in this podcast are either news that was proven different at a later time, or just a situation that is not relevant today, but we still wanted to release it because it's the first episode and it's kind of like a get to know us. So I hope you guys enjoy, and yeah, I'll let you get to it.
Hi, and welcome to the Will You Survive podcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Erik.
And we're going to be going over all things horror. We like to start with a little bit of a zombie pandemic in light of the current situation that we seem to be coming out of a pandemic all across the nation.
Hopefully coming out of.
Well, according to some of the experts, we're going to be stuck in this for years to come. So while we're at it, we'll go ahead and talk about ways that you can survive in this type of a situation. We'll pull up some specific instances, teeing off of some of our favorite movies. One of the favorites that I like to research is Dawn of the Dead. Not the George Romero 1978 version, but the 2004 Zack Snyder version. So in the 2004 version, why I like to pick that one is because they use a far more fictional, but far scarier zombie. They're the type that run at you at full speed and never seem to get tired.
Yeah. Wait, hang on. Is this the movie where... Okay, I'm remembering a zombie movie. All of these of the Dead movies kind of get mixed up in my head. But I do remember there was one where there was this one intelligent zombie. He kept getting smarter, and they like walked through a river. Like, I think it was like New York. I don't remember.
You're talking about Land of the Dead.
That is all these of the Dead movies.
That is also of the same series. That is one of the later sequels. You're referencing the zombie Big Daddy.
Yeah. He was like that one. He just kept getting smarter, and he kind of like became the leader of the zombies.
Yes. He taught them how to wield weapons, and they ended up attacking the humans.
Yeah.
That one didn't seem to bring as many frights as Dawn of the Dead, because Dawn of the Dead had immense and incredible jump scares. Now we'll get into that. First, we want to be able to talk to you all about some of the more important factors of surviving a pandemic. Now,
such as the need to not buy 40 rolls of toilet paper.
Well, I mean, you can order 40 rolls of toilet paper. I don't know that that's going to help you as much. You see, luckily for us, our wonderful government has saved us with the CDC launching a zombie preparedness blog and website.
Wait, that's a real thing?
That is a real thing. I'm actually looking at it right here. You can go to the cdc.gov, and there is a blog site where it can tell you about your emergency plan.
Shout out, baby.
It can tell you your emergency plan, such as identify the types of emergencies that are possible in your area besides the zombie apocalypse. Obviously, I'm reading this from the website. This is from the CDC.
That's crazy. I didn't know the CDC actually had a whole thing dedicated to a zombie apocalypse.
No, they absolutely do have the zombie preparedness, and they cover things such as water. You want to have 1 gallon of water per person per day. Food, stock up on non-perishable items that you eat regularly. Medications, of course, prescription is important. Non-prescription as well. You're going to want a lot of aspirins and ibuprofens, anti-inflammatories.
Yeah, I imagine that'll be pretty valuable.
Of course. I mean, people will be able to trade. I'll tell you, one of my favorite things to consider in this genre is if you stock up on nothing else, don't stock up on ammunition or money or any of these tangibles that can be worthless in no time, but stock up on things like drugs, alcohol, and tobacco.
Yeah, we used to play Dead Island together and Dying Light. And I don't know if you remember too much, but in Dead Island, one of my biggest pet peeves of that game is that money is the main currency.
Right.
And I always thought that was kind of stupid. And I always thought it was really dumb when I would go to Old Town and I would find these vendors who were like, oh yeah, I'll sell you this, but for $6,000. And I'm like, what do you need $6,000 for?
What are we going to use this? As if everybody on that island is still going to be using a government currency. And the same thing
no way.
In our situation. I mean, if you take a look at the beginning of this pandemic, March of 2020, when we got hit in the United States, everybody did run on toilet paper.
Yeah, which was so weird. It was so bizarre because, I would have expected Kleenexes 100%, but
Kleenex, maybe?
Kleenex didn't even run out. It was toilet paper. I was so confused by that. I still am.
Yeah. And, if you were to think about it, though, funny enough, if the government did collapse, if this was a real zombie apocalypse and the government collapsed, guarantee you, toilet paper would become a commodity.
Yeah, 100%, because it would be that or leaves.
Yeah.
So
it's a luxury. It is a luxury item.
Definitely. There's a lot that we kind of take for granted that, I kind of think about that when the zombie apocalypse hits, like forget sleeping on a comfy bed.
Right.
That's it. You're always sleeping on the ground, or if you're lucky, you might have a sleeping bag.
Right. And, the basic comforts of long night's sleep. I mean,
your every second is like you're fighting for your survival.
Paranoid.
Yeah,
You're
at any
paranoid all the time.
point something could run up to try and eat you.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
there's only so comfortable you can get without getting careless.
And how much do you sit there and dream about being
yeah,
eaten?
I can't imagine all the nightmares. You would never get a good night's sleep. I mean, unless you thrive off of chaos. I know a few people who might actually do just fine.
I kind of like some of it. I do like having zombie dreams. I have the weird tendency when I wake up after a zombie dream of trying to go back to sleep.
I have that same thing. I really do. I like zombie dreams too, but I think I would like them significantly less if I knew zombies were like actually there.
Well, that's true.
Like when I woke up, they weren't gone.
Now, I also do. And the reason why we're having this podcast is because I do go outside of my apartment at 2 a.m. to go take the trash out, and I automatically start thinking, what would I do
if I saw a zombie?
What would I do if a zombie starts coming at me? Well, I do notice down the hallway there's a fire extinguisher in a glass case. I'm going to break that thing out. I'm going to grab that fire extinguisher, not because the extinguisher is going to do anything to them, but it's a blunt object that you can hit something with. Now, ironically speaking, back to the CDC website, they actually have a lot of items on here, including tools and supplies, sanitation and hygiene, clothing and bedding, taking your important documents, and of course, first aid supplies. Not because you can survive a zombie bite, but because you're going to get cuts and scratches from normal things.
I mean, if you don't get bit, I would say the next worst thing would be infection.
I mean, imagine the absolute irony and devastation in that. You survive years of the zombie apocalypse.
You die from a cut.
Die of an infection.
That
a hangnail.
would suck. Oh my God.
What do we do in this type of a situation? Well, let's look a little bit at what we went through, what we saw. I do really believe that this country is quite doomed if something as catastrophic
I was thinking that came. I think America really proved that we do not handle crisis situations that well at all.
No,
we did not do well.
You see, if we do, and you guys, everybody should go to the CDC website and pick up some of these things, because if you're not prepared when a pandemic or an emergency, and that is the funny thing about these things, these are good for any type of emergency, not just a zombie apocalypse. If you have a fire, an earthquake, a flood, anything, if you stock up on the items that they give you, you're going to be prepared. Mm-hmm. And if you're prepared, you're not doing what we did here in America in March of 2020. You're not running on the store at the last minute trying to get items to survive.
Yeah.
And not just toilet paper, of course, but going out and getting your food, water. If you remember, a lot of things were taken off the shelves at during that month.
Yeah,
or
hand
two.
soap was one of them too. They took off hand soap because people were buying it. That was another thing. Were people not washing their hands before?
I mean,
this was a common meme. I know it's kind of a dead meme, but like for real, that still baffles me. Were people not washing their hands before? Why did it suddenly start selling so much?
I mean, I've always been a little bit of a germaphobe, so I've been socially distancing since before it was cool. Shout out, Corinne.
I must also say, I definitely think the 6-foot rule should just kind of be like a general society rule. Like when people are like, oh, now when I'm walking down the street and I see somebody, I step to the side to give them space. Like, I always did that.
That's just polite.
Yeah, like I don't know if it's because I grew up in the South and like the South has manners and California doesn't, but I grew up where that's not uncommon. You give people their space. You step off to the side and let them go. Another example of that is I was walking down the back alley to come in the back entrance, and someone waved while driving by.
Right.
They waved to me, which I was with the Beebs, with the baby, and I was holding her, and when they waved, I waved back kind of instinctually, and then I realized it, and I was telling the baby, I was like, hey, they might be from the South, because that's not a California thing. People don't just wave to you here. Like, that's
Just waving
kind of
for
a
no
Southern
reason.
thing. Yeah, just to wave to be friendly. You don't see that too much. It was kind of nice.
No, and some things have changed for the better. Some, not too many.
I think everybody's a little socially awkward now, so we're kind of at an even playing field.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of social awkwardness, and I do think that we've proven in a situation where pure chaos is going to reign. Let me jump around a little bit. One of the movies I'd like to talk about in an upcoming podcast is World War Z.
Oh, I love that movie.
They show an excellent example of pure chaos, of everybody running on the store. And that's another thing that I bring that up to say that's why you have to be prepared ahead of time.
Yeah, so that you don't have to go loot and to get an inhaler for your daughter.
You're not going to the store to make sure everything's okay. You are going home when everything's going crazy.
Yeah, like that one family did in World War Z. They were ready.
They had everything. And, the other thing that we will get into are things such as, should you stay put or should you be on the move? There's not a blanket answer to that, because if you're in the city, you're going to want to get out.
For us, I always kind of think about that. If it all broke down right here, we're in the greater Los Angeles area. We're close. We're still considered in the city.
Right.
I like our apartment building though, because I like a lot of apartment buildings here, the ground level is the lobby and the parking garages. Yeah. Which those could easily get zombies in. They break glass. They're in the lobby. Like, that's not safe, but they would have to know how to use an elevator.
Right.
Or the elevator would have to even be working.
Which, in this situation or any other type situation, what we do is we
cut the
call
elevator.
the elevator up and prop it open.
Oh, that's good. I was going to say we cut it. Because what use for the elevator do we really...
If you have access to the panel, to the electrical panel, we do. Our electrical panel is actually down in that parking garage, so we'd be in a really bad position to try to go down there and cut it. We wait until the power in the building, the grid goes down, because it's going to eventually.
Now, what I really like about this apartment building is that we have a back alley entrance, like a lot of these apartment buildings do. And I think it's really nice because it's completely gated. Like, you can climb it, but it's not really an easy climb. Like, if zombies are like super athletic, like World War Z, then we're screwed. But if they're,
they weren't even athletic. They were just like ants. They would just pile on top of each other.
They built on themselves. Like, what was it, Jerusalem? The Jerusalem walls?
Yeah.
They just climbed right over that. That was,
spoiler alert if you haven't seen World War Z, but it's old enough now.
It's a 2013 movie. Yeah, if you haven't seen it at this point, I mean, come on.
They've been talking about before the pandemic that they were going to do a World War Z Part 2, and we haven't seen that yet.
Yeah,
Hopefully
they
still do it.
Train to Busan 2, right?
Train to Busan 2 is out.
Oh, it is?
That's another.
I haven't even seen it.
Peninsula.
Oh, okay, yeah. I definitely got to see it. That was a good movie.
That goes a little bit more different than Train to Busan. Train to Busan, I think, was one of the most perfect zombie movies. It encapsulated a lot of the human error that we make when we're panicked, when we're tired, when we're hungry, when we've become so complacent to all the comforts in life, we don't think. For instance, one particular scene, they go walking by, dropped shields, bloody helmets, batons on the floor.
Oh, yeah.
So the police were clearly there. But
Clearly
they're not
something
there
happened.
now.
Yeah,
So-
and they kept going.
And everybody did stop and look at it in bewilderment. But I don't think they were quite capable of shaking the shock out of their head.
Yeah,
and saying,
nobody
oh my
put
God,
two and
something's
two.
wrong.
Yeah, nobody put two and two together and realized that, maybe get back on the train.
Yeah, I think we wanted it to be okay. I'm putting myself on that train. Same kind of a topic is if you go down any quiet street, And as you're traveling down, you always think of, being in the greater Los Angeles area, we get the pleasure of seeing too many drunkards.
Oh, yeah.
And it is a little off-putting when you see it and you see somebody maybe stumble and fall.
Oh, yeah, because you have that split second of zombie or too much vodka. Like, I'm not really sure here.
Well, the paper bag with the bottle in his hand, that's kind of a giveaway, so I'm going to just let him go ahead and sleep it off.
True. But I used to work in Santa Monica, and if I know you've been to Santa Monica, but if anybody else has been to Santa Monica, you know that there's certain spots that are pretty nice, like the pier is really beautiful, the beach is kind of nice, somewhat. But 3rd Street, which is where I used to work, not really that great. There's a couple alleys nearby, and just all around not really that great. I've never wanted to see somebody poop in the street, and I saw that. And there's a lot of crazy stuff that I saw working there, and a lot of people acting very scary, yelling at the sky or just kind of running in like a kind of frenzy in no particular direction.
Yeah.
Kind of makes you almost for a second think, like, if this guy lunges at somebody, what am I going to do?
Exactly.
Like, do I help them? Because I would want to think that I'm the person who would try to help, but I mean, I'm not really like that physically capable of helping. Like, if this guy is like 180 pounds lunging at somebody, pure frenzy, clearly a lot of adrenaline, I'm no help.
Right.
So I would be more of a hindrance.
Yeah, and in a situation like that, just to take it one step further, think also, I'm kind of an enthusiast for, say, Not Scary Farm or Halloween
I love
Horror
Not Scary
Nights.
Farm.
And I always go through the concept in my mind. What if somebody were to get in here and be a real psychopath?
Yeah, actually killing people, and you're like, oh, great effects.
How often when will you stop and finally look over there and say, no, this isn't fake?
Yeah.
And I think that to that extent, that's kind of the point that I'm making is you're expecting it in a setting like Not Scary Farm or Halloween Horror Nights. And I think that
that's where it would be least expecting, or like that's where you would least expect it.
But I do think that we got to take our minds outside of there and think you're going to be just as surprised if you saw it in front of your face.
Yeah.
It won't really be any different. It will be a lot less of a rationalization going on in your mind saying, oh, well, that's just a skit that they do.
These are just actors.
Park.
These are just people.
But it will be just the same, a shocked, stunned, and, standing and staring type situation where I think we all like to say we would not be that person. But I think it would be hard to shake yourself out of that and make yourself aware that if somebody is running and jumping on another human being and biting their face off, well, that's probably not normal.
Wait, I'm sure you've heard about it. It was a long time ago. I want to say it was Florida because
bath salts.
Yeah, bath salts. The guy straight up like zombied the dude.
And I'm telling you, I thought the same exact thing. And this was The Walking Dead was a huge hit at the time, and we'll get into that too.
And that's Florida. Like, that's where you get shot. Like, people have guns there. You see that shit, you shoot that guy. That guy's a zombie.
Well, that was a very unreal situation that I did really think for a moment, what if?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Because it's never going to be. We always say it won't happen, it can't happen, it's not possible. If you go back in time to Max Brooks's book, Zombie Survival Guide, he puts the blame on a virus that's named Solanum. I believe it's pronounced Solanum. It's a virus, though. He calls it a virus. Mm-hmm. In Romero, I believe George Romero's Night of the Living Dead, if I'm not mistaken, that one was a downed or a crashed Venus probe that brought back some kind of virus on it, or bacteria or something. Virus. So, we all, I don't think any of these movies really like to get into what caused it. They like to go right past it.
There was one, okay, so this isn't necessarily so much zombies, but this does fit the horror theme. I Am Legend. It was a failed vaccine for cancer.
Oh, right.
Oh, and I also do want to kind of, there's been this widespread, like, false meme that I Am Legend took place in 2021, and it really didn't. It took place 2012.
We'll forgive the person as being dyslexic.
Close, but no cigar.
It was 2012.
It was 2012, and I remember that because I Am Legend predicted, I believe that movie was like, what, 2008, 2009?
I think so. I think it was 2009.
It predicted Batman versus Superman.
Oh, yeah.
It had that as like coming soon to theaters. It was on a billboard.
Yeah.
And then Batman versus Superman came out a couple years later.
Not really what I would call a great hit, but a lot of people liked it. It was okay. Doesn't fit.
Batman versus Superman?
Now, this is going to shock you. I Am Legend was actually from 2007.
2007? That does not shock me that much. I knew it was an older movie.
And one thing that I also didn't know about this is it was based off of a novel of 1954.
I've learned that a lot of horror movies are based off of novels, even when you don't know it. Like I Am Legend, for example, or what was the other one? The Strain. If anyone's ever seen The Strain on Hulu.
Now that was a series, right?
Yeah, it was a series. I watched it like a year or two, probably like 2 years ago. It was a great series. Really loved it. And then I was like 3 seasons in, and I was looking at the credits, and I saw based on the novel by, and I was like, whoa, like this is a book? And yeah, they have like, I think it's like 3 books. A lot of these horror movies are based off of books, and I didn't know that. A lot of horror shows and stuff like that. I also want to note that I have not seen as much Stephen King as I wish I have.
Oh, we could go into that.
Yeah.
That'll be a very pleasant. We can go into Will You Survive Cujo?
Yeah, see, I've seen parts of Cujo. I've seen The Shining.
The Shining. Will you survive The Shining? If it's Jack Nicholson, no, I won't. I won't. That guy creeped me out. Jack
Nicholson always kind of gave me, I don't know if it was just because of The Shining or if it's just him as a person, but he's kind of always good. I obviously don't know him personally, so I don't really know. But he's kind of always like creeped me out. Just like, he just looks creepy.
A movie where he was supposed to give you a bad feeling, but turned out to be quite a lovable character was his character in, let me remember the name of this one. It was As Good as It Gets, that also starred Greg Kinnear. It was a 180-degree flip from The Shining, which was rather pleasant, but still, it was unbelievable that the same guy who could play Mr. Torrance could also play this OCD character who's really disliked by everybody, but in fact is quite a lovable character. Interesting one to watch, not in our horror genre, so we'll get back to some of our other favorites in just a second.
We're back. It's been, for us, 20 minutes, for you, a matter of seconds. We just had to take care of a few things, got a delivery and such. But I think what we left off talking about,
we left off talking about the preparedness and necessary steps that we need to take in any kind of an emergency, but to make it more exciting and more likely that people will actually take these steps, we're using zombie preparedness. One of the things to point out that if you're prepared for any type of a situation, you're prepared for zombies. For example, we have a fire extinguisher in the apartment, and we also have a fire ladder. Mm-hmm. So in the event of a fire that blocks our fire escapes, we can still get out of the building. And if the fire escapes, if the stairways are blocked or engulfed in flame, we're going to get out one way or the other. That would also work in this scenario. Let me tell you how. I don't think we're going to be able to go up and down the elevator during the zombie apocalypse. As you already pointed out, our lobby windows are glass.
Yeah, so, it would be too easy. We even if they didn't initially break through, I wouldn't. Yeah,
I think just pressing against it, they're going to break through.
I wouldn't want to be in the lobby because that's just going to draw them to you theoretically, right. Unless it's like Train to Busan where we could just put up newspaper, block it out, and if they can't see us, out of sight, out of mind.
Right. We'll get into different types of specifics, but one other point that you already mentioned was the back alley. It's a solid brick wall, all the way
with
across, with metal railing and a metal gate.
And we could theoretically put barbed wire if we.
We could. But one of the things
I don't think that would stop them. But
if they're not climbing over And because it's a flat surface, it would be much more difficult. But if they're not climbing over, let's stick with one particular scenario at this point in time, is the type that were in Dawn of the Dead. They weren't interested in climbing. They would bang against the doors and windows, and they'd cram and press and do all of that, but they didn't climb. They didn't have any interest in trying to climb one on top of the other and build a human ladder like ants, as in
like World War Z.
And if we were in that type of situation, they would block off our exit out of the back alley. They would block off our exit out of the front of the building. So the only thing we could do then would be to drop a ladder down. We'd have to create distractions, which those are kinds of things that I love thinking about. I
mean, what I like to think is that a lot of this building, like not necessarily us as much, but a lot of this building knows each other already, and is like knows each other well. Like we know most of the people in this building. I think maybe most is an exaggeration, but we know quite a few people in this building, at least on our floor.
Right.
And there's only 3 floors with actual apartments.
Tenants,
As we said before, the ground floor is just parking garage and lobbies. But I like to think that if the zombie apocalypse were to happen, this community would kind of stick tight together.
Right.
And we would kind of create this own community, because our building is actually 2 buildings connected together.
Right.
So it's a pretty big complex. It's got a decent amount of people. I kind of think about that. How cool, not necessarily because it wouldn't really be that cool if there were zombies about, but if that situation were to happen, it's cool to think that we do kind of have a community here that might be able to work together. I think we have a little bit of a higher chance of survival.
That is one way to look at it. I also think that may be a little on the idealistic side, only because if these other people are not as prepared as we are, they're going to expect from us. They're going to want us to give to them, and we may not be able to.
That's true, but I was also thinking more along the lines of leading them. Like becoming that, like, okay, you guys were clearly prepared. What do? We
Right.
need to start sending out scavenging parties. We need to start training to be safe, how to move around. If there's zombies like The Walking Dead, where, if I recall correctly, Walking Dead, they're not that fast, right?
No.
Yeah, they're walkers.
Yep.
So you can get around them. It's just in hordes, they're a lot. You can't take them on.
Right.
But if it's just like zombies scattered about the street, as long as you're not making a lot of noise, you can just run down the street.
Which brings me to the next point in preparedness. I don't think a necessary item in the zombie apocalypse is a gun.
No, too much noise. Too
I'm
loud.
a fan of knives.
I like bows.
I love the idea of a bow. I still need to learn how to shoot a bow. I love the idea. I can throw a knife. I'm very accurate with a knife throwing, but I would prefer something larger, a machete.
Mm-hmm.
If I could get my hands on a katana, that would be an ideal
That'd be really
situation.
cool.
But any kind of knife that is in the situation that we're talking about of slower walker types. In the Dawn of the Dead 2004 remake, they're super fast.
Mm-hmm.
I still wouldn't want a gun. The chances of shooting one of these in the head is slim to none.
Oh yeah, people underestimate that. It's not like shooting a gun. It's not like Call of Duty. You don't just aim and shoot. There's a little more to it. Like there's a little more control, and it does have a kick.
Yep. Which we learned. We went to a place in Vegas, without dropping names. We went to a place that's in Las Vegas. They pick you up and have all kinds of good stuff. You could shoot any kind of gun there. And we learned really quickly that a fully automatic gun, not very easy to shoot.
No, I was pretty surprised because I lived in Texas for most of my life, and I never shot a gun, which is honestly, I feel like it is kind of like not like a taboo. What's the right word for that? It's kind of a frowned upon, I guess.
You're a misfit.
Yeah. I'm like the only person in Texas who hadn't shot a gun.
I think it's fair to say taboo in Texas.
Yeah, it's something like, oh, you haven't shot a gun before? Don't tell anybody else.
You must be from California.
Yeah, you must not be from around these parts. But yeah, so when I finally shot, I was pretty accurate with the pistol and with the sniper and the shotgun. Obviously, like there's no accuracy of the shotgun. You just aim in the general direction. But I got the MP5, and holy crap! I started shooting expecting a lot of vertical recoil, not realizing there was a lot of horizontal recoil.
Yeah.
Like I was all over the left and right and just all over the place. My target looked so nice and I was so excited. I'm like, oh, I'm going to hang this up. I'm a dead shot. I was getting right in the center every time. And then all of a sudden I start using the MP5 and there's shots everywhere. I'm like, well, now it looks like I'm awful.
And that gets you back into the idea of these types of movies where they do that spray and pray type and they take out virtually every single zombie in front of them.
So unrealistic.
And you start to realize, okay, what we're going to break down in this podcast is we're going to take away the plot armor and that plot armor for our characters and how we would do this to survive this type of situation, the type of skills that you're going to need to know. And these are things that while we are, for just a reference point, while we are complacent, we haven't been in any kind of a major war. That's shown very clearly with the Texas situation just a few weeks ago where they froze. And
Texas never gets cold, and then most people didn't have power or
millions
or what is it?
Gas. Millions of people were without natural gas, and they were without electricity. And one of the things that they could have done to prevent this is, or at least prevent it so bad, is this preparedness kit. If you have these things, it actually lists having extra blankets.
Because Texas, like, I mean, I know you could probably just assume, but if you've never been to Texas, you might not know how hot it can get.
Oh, right.
I was in marching band. We used to march and it was like 104 degrees outside and we'd be out there for hours.
I mean, we're used to that now in Southern California.
Yeah. California. I mean, we're a desert.
It is what it is. One of the things that we would have to consider, in the situation that we're talking about, you're without power, you're without gas.
Yeah.
So you have no natural gas, no heating, no lighting. All right. One thing that will heat up your house that it's not as practical, but candles. They will add a small amount of heat. The other thing, and they also are a little bit safer than if you decide to try to light a fire inside of your own
bonfire
place.
in an apartment.
You don't do a bonfire
upon?
in your apartment. That's slightly frowned upon. I would not recommend that as a survival technique.
No.
But you'll
candles, get a very, very large bonfire afterwards.
And you'd probably take out the problem if it was zombies.
Yeah.
You also wouldn't have to worry about them anymore because I think you'd take yourself out.
Yeah.
The other thing is,
lesson here: don't start a fire in your apartment.
Yeah, don't start a fire in your apartment. The second is to stay warm. Just a little technique here: little camping tents, or if you have children, little children's tents that have like a bed frame. They're able to sit on top of the kids' beds. I used to have one of those as a kid. It was a tent specifically made to go over your bed. If it's really cold, those things are awesome. You could take that, you could put your blankets on top of that tent, and it will keep you warm. Some people were showing this technique throughout Texas, and they were taking the temperature outside and showing that it was about 40 degrees outside in the room. Not outside the house. In the room, it was about 40 degrees. In the tent, it was about 80 degrees.
Jeez.
That was the body heat of the kids collecting inside of there with the blankets covering that tent. So if you could make yourself something like that, fashion some sort of a tent over your bed, your kids would be able to sleep comfortably. You would be able to sleep comfortably. And, exposure to heat, extreme heat and cold is one of the leading killers in humanity. When we're without shelter, it's almost a lock stock that you're going to die.
Yeah, that's why I kind of think one thing I can give California is that we have pretty temperate weather. So in the event we were in a situation like a zombie apocalypse that would theoretically displace you from wherever you're living, it wouldn't really, weather wouldn't be your primary concern. Like I can imagine up north, like New York. Well, first of all, New York has a lot of problems with zombie apocalypse. But like, let's say Maine, right? It gets cold.
Yeah.
It gets really cold. And if you don't have heat, you're going to have to be making a fire every night.
Yeah.
California, very few nights that it actually gets cold enough that you'll need a fire.
Yeah. And that fire will draw attention.
Yeah, like they say that on The Walking Dead. I think in the first season when they're at that campgrounds, they talk about it and they say like, "Oh wow, you're putting the fire way too high. You're trying to draw attention,
trying to stay warm." That guy,
Yeah.
that wife beater. It was hard not to be a little bit cheery when he was taken out by a walker.
Yeah.
The other one was the next step in preparation. Always having something standing by. Now, I know I always hear a lot of people, especially in apartments, I can't store that much water. I understand. You don't have storage space for that much water.
Mm-hmm.
You take a family of 4 and a gallon per day for each of them to have the minimum of the CDC's recommendations of 3 days. That would mean a family of 4 would have to have 16 gallons of water stored away somewhere. That's hard to do.
Wait, for 3 days or for 4?
For 3 days, I'm sorry, 12,
It would be 12 gallons.
12 gallons for 4 days or 3 days is one of their recommendations. The other recommendation is 14 days. So now you start calculating how much water that would be.
Well, another
for
thing you
people.
can do, if you do live in an apartment, I think you were, I might be cutting you off. You might have been getting to this point, but filling up your tub.
That's exactly what I was going to say. The average bathtub is about 36 gallons, and you can fill that thing up, and it would give you quite a large quantity of water that you can draw from for many different reasons. One of the things that you can do with a filled bathtub is boil the water for drinking water. You can also, believe it or not, you don't need fresh water coming into the tank of your toilet. You can pour water into your toilet and it will flush.
Yeah.
So if you're stuck in your home for quite a while, you can actually use this technique to keep the water in your toilet flowing so that you can keep it a little more sanitary in there.
That's another thing I kind of think about is we were talking about commodities and how toilet paper would be a commodity in a zombie apocalypse. So would just toilets in general. Like that's another thing. You know how I was saying earlier that once that happens, no more sleeping on a comfy bed every night.
Right.
No more going to the bathroom at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
I mean, like now you have to decide, do I really have to go? Because I have to walk off alone.
Right. Yeah, you're going to be, whether you like it or not, you're going to become far more regular.
Yeah, you're going to have to be a lot more comfortable with people watching. Ooh, I'm not comfortable with that.
No, and those are comforts. Those are comforts that we have that we do take for granted. We don't tend to think all of these things all the way through. I think in every movie, it always shows the same thing. One comfort that nobody is willing to let go of: alcohol.
Yeah.
Another comfort: tobacco.
Yeah, just like apparently in the prison systems, things like ramen. It's weird to think about in different society. I guess you could call them societies. Currency is different, obviously. Yeah. Like right now, under a government, we have our government currency. We have the U.S. dollar. In Fallout 4, all the Fallout games, actually, the currency is bottle caps.
Right.
And they have pre-war money, but it's literally useless, completely valueless.
Yeah.
You could sell it to people, but they literally are like, I'll just take it off your hands.
Yeah.
Like they won't pay you anything for it. It's not worth anything. Which kind of makes me, I know in the prison systems, I've heard a lot that ramen is their big currency there. Cause they don't get it. I mean, we saw that on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I've also heard it from people who like, oh yeah, my mom works in the prison system. That's true. So I've heard that. So I kind of think about that every once in a while about what would be like the currency in a zombie apocalypse. And I think you're right. I think it would be tobacco and alcohol and
drugs.
Yeah. And drugs.
And we're not just talking about illegal drugs, penicillin.
Yeah. Like medical drugs.
The value of prescription drugs would be incredible. They would,
even just Advil.
Right. And this goes to without getting political here, this goes to show basic economics will survive regardless of government system.
Because it's just how the world works.
Supply and demand will exist whether a government exists or not. If you're in a situation where you have to survive, what matters most to you? And those are going to be the things that you're going to value more. And that's where it really comes into play. One man's garbage is another man's treasure. You know, one man's trash is another man's treasure. It goes to show, because we may think, for instance, albuterol. None of us in this house have asthma, and we may come across albuterol. And to us, it's waste. It's going to be weight that we have to carry for no reason.
But I know countless people who need it
and need
who
it.
would trade it.
And you can go about that value. So just some quick tips on the survival in this type of situation. If you're roaming around and scavenging, you're trying to keep up your daily caloric intake. You should not be doing this when your food supply has run out. You should do this before your food supply runs out.
And you should, I would add to that, keep a map of what you've scavenged, what you haven't, especially if you're like in a city area, and scavenge everything.
Yeah.
Houses, any shelf, any cupboard, anything, any canned food.
Right.
All that's going to be good.
So if you're, let's say you're stationary, you have a fixed place and you're in a pretty stable condition, any food of any type that's good is okay to collect. But now contrast that with if you are on the move. If you're on the move and you come across canned goods, my advice to you is don't put it in your backpack and carry it. That weight will get to you.
Mm-hmm.
Eat it right away. And on the contrary, if you find dried foods like ramen, that's another one that I think in the apocalypse, that's going to be currency.
Yeah.
Dried food. If you could find ramen, you feel the weight of that stuff. It's so light.
Mm-hmm.
That is the stuff that I would put in my backpack and carry. I could take that to my next destination. I can't take cans of soup. They're too heavy.
I would say have a couple just in case, like as a last resort, like you can't find any food, you need food, then you have it. But definitely don't like grab every can that you see, because at some point you're going to run out of space, and two, it's just going to be too heavy.
Well, yeah, you have to think about getting back.
Mm-hmm.
If you have to climb anything, what about getting away from these things? If
that's another
moving.
thing. I'm not fast, man. If zombies ever come to real life, they better not run.
Well, if you take a look back at Max Brooks was asked about Dawn of the Dead, the 2004 remake of Dawn of the Dead, what's scarier, the slower moving zombies like in The Walking Dead or the faster zombies in Dawn of the Dead? And it was a bet between two friends, and he said, tell your friend that is the most ridiculous bet I've ever heard of, because everyone knows there's no such thing as fast zombies.
Oh, so, yeah. I remember hearing one guy, it might be the same guy, he completely scientifically tore apart the argument of sprinting zombies.
It would kind of defy all of the basic logic that is talked about with a zombie.
Well, let's talk about that, because they say more often than not when a zombie movie, what the virus does is it kills the host initially, and then it reanimates their corpse with only an amount of brain function to know I need food. So the most primal animal instincts.
Yeah.
I must eat.
Yeah.
And so they are going to eat they're going to try to get their food at any cost. That's why a zombie, they don't feel pain. They don't have any of that, because their brain's not telling them, oh, you're feeling pain. Their brain is just saying, go get food.
Well, see, I think it's different than just go get food. It's a basic instinct that remains alive in even the dead human brain of feeding. One thing that I'd like to point out in my theory of a zombie is, what is a zombie but all of the things that make us human removed? If we were functioning strictly off of instinct, no compassion, no forgiveness, no remorse, no morality, no ethics, no understanding, no basic critical thinking skills, no understanding of right or wrong. There's nothing there that makes us human anymore, but we're still human. We're still the form that we are.
Yeah. That would be a zombie.
I think eating is one thing that would remain. And I don't think that they will die, if you will, if they don't eat.
Because they're already dead.
Right. Which is, now that we're going to get into in one of our later episodes, we will talk about the movie 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later. That one, they
Great
actually
movies.
say a little bit different. They do suggest that these things starve to death.
There's another movie that kind of goes along that premise. I'm not going to be able to remember the name right now, but there is another movie that kind of goes along that premise. Warm Bodies.
Warm Bodies.
Warm Bodies. They're zombies at first, and then if they don't eat for long enough, they become bonies. Have you ever seen the movie?
No.
Okay. So if they don't eat, they eventually start peeling off their own skin until they're eventually these like sickly gray bone creatures. And they're called bonies. Imagine a volatile from Dying Light, except way skinnier.
Yeah.
They're like that. Super agile, super fast, super deadly. And in the movie, they do find a cure. The cure is love. They find a cure for the zombies. Their hearts start beating again. But the volatile, or not the volatiles, the bonies, the main character who's the zombie in the movie, he was like, it was a little brutal, but the bonies were too far gone, so we kind of just killed them all.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of funny, but that was along the premise that they either died out. At the very end, he says they either died out or they killed them.
Right.
Because they just couldn't find food anymore.
Right. And then you have the other greats like Resident Evil.
Love that movie. Man, there's so many good zombie movies.
Just completely different. That one was more of that's more of an experiment.
Yeah, it's a man-made virus.
I wouldn't call it an experiment gone wrong either.
No, because they meant to do it. They were experimenting with the T virus.
Yeah.
And then they just didn't expect it to get loose.
Right.
That was what happened.
And then once it did, they just used it to their benefit all the way across the board.
Oh, yeah. Throughout all those movies.
That was the Umbrella Corporation. If you haven't seen the movie, there's an evil corporation that is just hell-bent on using what they called the T virus. They manufactured a virus that would cause a corpse to reanimate. And that not only would they reanimate corpses with this, but they would also take the T virus and inject it into living human cells, and they would get absolutely horrific monsters. Like if you watch the second installment of the franchise, it was Nemesis.
Yeah.
That monster was just enormous, and we actually knew who that character was. So we got to see what he looked like before he became one of these things, and then what he became afterwards. And it was far different than becoming a typical walker like some of them did.
I really like the way Resident Evil really played on the idea of mutations.
Yeah.
The T virus was heavily mutated, it had heavy possibility for mutation. I don't know how to word that correctly, but it mutated a lot, basically.
Yeah.
There's tons of different types of zombies in the Resident Evil universe, like the Lickers.
The Licker.
Those are nasty creatures.
Yeah.
You've got those in Resident Evil 5. They had the Jahari. I forget. I don't remember what they're called, but they were more humanized zombies. They carried weapons. They talked. They communicated, but they were zombies. They had the virus in them.
Then we have some of the other movies where we get away from some of the we'll call it human experiment down into we already talked a little bit about Train to Busan. That was one. I do think that's an all around great picture from start to finish.
Wait, did they ever explain how the virus started in that movie?
In the beginning, they kind of go over it.
I remember.
A little bit.
I do remember. They very, very, very briefly.
It's basically the company that who turns out to be the protagonist. His company is financing. They pull all the funding. And so they lead you to believe that he caused this by pulling all funding, and they basically lost all of their capabilities of security and the containment. And then the next thing you see is a dead deer on the road.
Yeah, deer that gets hit by a car or by a truck, and then it comes back.
And that is
just stands up and runs away.
That is it. That's the beginning of the end. Some of the others that we've mentioned, World War Z. The Dawn of the Dead is going to be the one we kick this off with. Then absolute great, one of the all-time greatest zombie movies because of what I subjectively take as an example of the human condition. Complacency, this real lack of drive, this unmotivated, completely, I can't even find the better word for it than complacency in Shaun of the Dead.
I thought that's what you were talking about.
It was a funny movie. It had funny positions because you actually felt things in that movie that you didn't think going into it you would ever care, and then there's a lot of heart when Sean loses his stepfather, when he constantly keeps, his mom constantly calls him his dad. That's not my dad. And then at the end, he says it, my dad. And that was when his dad had gotten bit and turned. And it was quite a funny scene. If you haven't watched it, it's worth watching. The particular scene that I'm talking about, they break the emotion. They break that real caring, loving moment that he's having with what was his dad. And he's telling his mom, no, that's not your husband. That's not him. There's nothing in that car resembling your husband. And then right at that moment, the radio was kicked loud before they got out of the car. And the zombie reaches forward and turns the radio off and sighs in relief. And it's like, we'll go then, shall we? It's a great movie. It's worth watching. I love that one. And we're going to go through a lot of the greats, and not only zombie movies though. We're going to take a look at all horror.
I'm super excited. I'm a big fan of the Conjuring series, even though the later ones kind of admittedly got pretty
They're
crappy.
Awfully great.
Yeah, like The Nun.
Awfully great. That was such a horribly great movie.
Yeah,
I would not recommend anybody pay any money to watch that movie. But if you can stream it free, and this is like one of those things that's going to waste your time.
It's cheap thrills.
It is cheap thrills. That is a great way to put it. It is going to waste your time. You know what this was a great movie for? I'll tell you, this movie, The Nun, is a fantastic movie. If you're having a Halloween party and everybody wants to be a little bit scared, but you don't want to have to pay attention to something, it's just on as background noise and you can let it rile everybody up and get some good scares. That's a good one.
I agree. I like that for that.
So I do like a lot of the Conjuring series. I will say I loved the novelty of Paranormal Activity.
I've never actually watched those through because I heard the first one was good. The second one got a little bit worse. And then after that, it just became kind of silly.
Yeah.
I don't know. It never really grabbed my attention that much.
I think they were trying to grab onto the coattails of the Conjuring series. And I don't think they really were.
I don't like the approach. I like the idea is good. The whole recording, it's your bedroom camera, security camera type of footage, but it just got really, I felt like everybody was trying to do that kind of style at the time.
Yeah.
Because you had the Blair Witch Project.
They came after the Blair Witch. That was the one success. A lot of people didn't like it because of the camera work. A lot of people did like it.
I watched it on my way to a band competition and I was like, oh, I'm so excited. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to watch a horror movie on this long drive. And I'm watching it. And then by the end of it, I was like, well, you never even saw.
Never once.
Not even a glimpse of what, at least in Signs, they showed you at the end.
That was another great one. I loved Signs.
Signs was only as good as it was because of the suspense.
Yes.
They nailed it.
Yes.
That movie was amazing and is an amazing movie. And only because of the suspense. If they'd have showed you what was happening in the very beginning, that movie would be a piece of crap movie.
Yeah. Another one that I thought they did very well. I think they got the right amount of scares that they were after, calling it a real movie with a documentary and maybe even fooling some people, was Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind. That was starring Mia Jovovich.
I have never seen that, but I think you've talked about it before.
Yeah, they make it look like it's a true story. They actually conduct interviews with an actress that is playing the part of the real
original
person.
character. Yeah,
and so it's really really clever, very well done. I think it got the right amount of scares. It was. I would say it was different enough, but I don't think it ever gained traction because they tried to fool their audience. And I don't think much of the audience appreciated the attempt to fool them. It's either call this real or call it fake, but don't try to trick me.
Which I get, but I don't know. It's at that certain extent where you can't tell if it's real or not. Part of you knows like, oh, this is clearly fiction, but then another part, your superstitious side comes out, and you're like, but what if it's not?
Yeah.
What if this really is a documentary?
Yeah. And now, more for your benefit than most of the listening audience, is The Exorcist. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I have seen it.
You
I've
have
seen it. The old one, yeah.
Oh man, that one. And some of the favorites that we'll have to go over are the creepy things that happened on the set.
What I like about The Exorcist is when the demon is possessing the kid, it seems pretty accurate. Just vile, angry, no remorse, no talking to it. There's no, that's a demon. There's no
And it's a
reasoning
liar.
with it. Yeah.
It's a liar. There's no reason to try to reason with it or get it to tell you the truth.
You can't trust a word that comes out of it. It's only there to hurt you.
Yeah. The then we can also get into what were some of the other ones that we liked in the horror genre, not so much the zombie genre.
Sinister
Sinister
was really good.
Yeah.
That movie was actually the first one in a while that gave me a genuine spook.
Oh, really?
Because like a lot of horror movies, I don't get scared that much, honestly. I act it up even when I'm watching it, like even just by myself. I act it up because I want to. I
Right.
want to be scared by a horror movie.
Right.
But like I've not once in a really long, really, really long time have I ever laid down in bed and gone, damn, I'm a little spooked right now. Like, I haven't done that in a really long time. Nothing really scares me that much anymore, except like just real life stuff like bills. But, like a horror movie doesn't scare me that much anymore. But Sinister really got me. Like, it actually spooked me a little bit and gave me more than just a cheap jump scare, which is like what The Nun does. It was just a lot of cheap jump scares.
Yeah. Wait, but there's one that I'm missing.
Insidious?
It's well, I liked Insidious. No, we're gonna have to do another shout out to Corinne. That awful movie that is like the greatest movie of all time to her. We went and saw it in the theaters, and it was, I think, I called it just a terrible movie. Truth or Dare.
Oh yeah, Truth or Dare.
She loves it.
Okay, you know, want to know why we love it?
This is our producer, by the way. She absolutely loves this movie. Truth or Dare is the greatest thing to her, and she will swear by it. Greatest movie of all time.
It's the girl from Pretty Little Liars.
Yeah. And it is probably on the rate one of the least scary movies. Really had some comical moments that I think they wanted to be scary.
It was definitely more comical than scary for sure.
But again, another one of these Halloween movies to scare people.
It was a good one. You want to know one that actually spooked me a little bit? Not really enough that like actually spooked me, but The Bye Bye Man. Have you ever seen that?
I haven't.
It's on Netflix. It's a pretty good one. Basically it's about this entity, the Bye Bye Man. And if you speak his name, or don't say it, don't think it. It was the whole thing. Don't say it, don't think it. Don't say it, don't think it. Because if you think his name, it possesses you. And it starts off with a scene in the 50s, which, by the way, if you haven't gathered at this point, spoiler alert to any movie we talk about or any show we talk about. Spoiler alert, all right? If you haven't already gotten that. But it starts off in the scene where you're in the 50s. They're in the 50s, and this guy kills his whole family and then just walks across the street, breaks down the door, and starts killing this other family.
Jeez.
And it's because of the Bye Bye Man. So these roommates go through this whole thing, this couple, and it's a really good movie. I saw it in theaters. I thought it was really cool.
Okay.
Another one that I think is worth mentioning is we're just naming off a bunch of horror movies right now. But another good one is, have you ever seen The Forest?
No.
That's a pretty good one. That's about, there's actually a forest in, I'm really bad about it. It's one of the Asian countries. I think it's Japan. It's
High suicide?
Yeah, the suicide forest.
Yes.
I know the big controversy of what's his face on YouTube going there and filming a hanging body.
Oh, geez.
Like an idiot. That was a while ago. I mean, I forget his name. Big name. I shouldn't be forgetting his name, but I've forgotten it. I don't really care that much.
No shout outs for bad acts.
Yeah, no, that definitely not good. A lot of controversy there. But it takes place in that forest, the movie. her twin sister goes there by herself, and then she's like, oh no, I gotta go after my sister. So she goes after her sister. Of course, a bunch of creepy shit starts happening. I saw that in theaters too. It was a pretty good movie. It had a pretty interesting end.
So that's an interesting one. Now, if I guess what we're doing here is we're giving each other the homework that we're going to have to do over the weeks here, because
and you guys too.
One of the things that I'm going to throw your way now that I think is far less likely for you to have seen, an old horror. This is just, I think it was just terror horror was the genre, is Pumpkinhead.
No, I've never seen it.
That's an old one. That is the resurrection of a demon of vengeance. So it was, and it's probably one of the most controversial movies of its time, because the vengeance was taken out by a father who witnessed his son being killed by a group of reckless and careless, we'll call them 20-somethings, who were riding around motorcycles in his yard, or in his lot, we'll call it. It's a giant lot. And his son ran after his dog who was chasing these motorcycles. And one of them went right off the ramp, came down, landed right on the child.
Oh.
And it was so controversial because you don't ever see children be killed.
Yeah. I don't know how true this is, because I feel like I've definitely seen it, but I heard somewhere that it's either illegal or super frowned upon to kill a child in a movie, or
to show it
in a movie or a game.
In a movie or a game. I believe it would be an automatic X rating if they were to do that.
See, Dying Light kind of got around that, because Dying Light does have the children zombies, but you don't see them until the very end.
Oh, that one's terrible.
Yeah, that's rough.
And I'm gonna have to find this movie. It is a YouTube free movie. It is a zombie movie specific, to be sure. And it was I left it because I couldn't stand the fact that this one actually showed a zombie tear open a pregnant woman. You didn't see the act, but you saw the pregnant woman or dead. She's dead on the ground and her belly's ripped open, and this zombie is eating the baby. And I left it, and I was like, nope, I'm done. And that says something, because I actually like the genre. And it is something that, yes, it has to happen let's go into the universe of a real zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, zombie's not gonna be like, ooh, she's pregnant. No.
It's a newborn. I can't do that. No. But I think for us as humanity, that's our job to protect that class with everything we have.
Yeah, to protect women and children.
That is our future.
Yeah.
Without our future, we're done. What are we even trying to survive to tomorrow for if we're not going to protect our youngest?
Yeah, there's no point.
And the women, of course, because they're the only ones who can bring us these children. So the entire corpus and body of this work, guys, is we're going to be studying some of these movies, looking them over, seeing what would have to happen, what of our preparedness would set us right. How would we be on the right path?
Yeah. Also, feel free to watch them before we do, or when we'll be watching them too. And so that you can kind of follow along when we're talking about it. You'll know what we're talking about certain scenes or like different situations that are happening. Another thing I want to add is that Alex and I both have a little bit of experience, him more than me, but some experience in production, like directing styles, and just looking at like camera angles and stuff like that. That's what we kind of nerd out about. So we might talk about that, like different directing styles, because a lot of these zombie movies are
plot holes.
Yeah, a lot of these zombie movies are directed by familiar directors that we all know by name. But yeah, plot holes, things that just kind of don't make sense, how we would do things differently, or why we think what they're doing wouldn't work, just things like that. Just kind of analyzing the movie and trying to rip it apart the best we can so that we can figure out which zombie movies or which horror movies are the best of the best.
And it was that's kind of another way of saying we're going to strip away the actor's plot armor.
Yeah.
What can we do to make this a level playing field for the average Joe? And again, in most of these situations, let me start with the first movie we're going to review here next week will be Dawn of the Dead. What was the preparedness? Who was ready? How do they survive as long as they do? Without that plot armor, do they still survive? And you and I would be able to ask, will you survive?
Future Erik here. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed this first episode as much as we enjoyed recording it. And now here's a little sneak peek from E Minor Productions on a future project. And as I said,